Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the RationalInvestor.com's Daily Brief Recap. Had a bit of a break yesterday. Of course, Julian does the Thursday shows on the site, although I did interject my 2 cents into his call quite a bit yesterday. So my apologies for Julian fans. Why the fuck is that Beamish guy always talking? Jesus, somebody shut him up. Anyway. Did about an hour and a half daily brief here with the gang this morning. About a half-hour rant to start things off as usual. Brian sure loves the sound of his own voice and is quite opinionated of late. Try my best to help you guys. I'm sure there's somewhere in all of this, there's little pieces you go, hey, shit, I never knew that. Better write that down. And I think I remember we even went through a couple things specifically that I was like, after I did it, I was like, actually I kind of like that thing, and I'm glad I wasted their time to get to that point. So anyway, heading into the weekend, silly Fakazi kind of crazy ass investing landscape right now. And unfortunately, you can't really say that the market is cheap anymore. And I do believe that this is exactly the central planner's intention. Was they can't really clean up the house fiscally and try and get things sort of stabilized, and what does our new world look like until we get beyond this sickness. And unfortunately, I think the sickness actually sticks around another year or so. Sadly, is it this sickness being used as cover to actually do things like reset monetary systems that everybody and their brother knows are broken and archaic and need replacing? Believe it or not, actually, I think that makes a lot of sense to me. So as a result, probably the biggest worry that I think anybody should have right now is just simply when and what does that reset look like. I got a nasty feeling that people are sort of assuming that we're out of the woods with regard to sickness and with regard to how bad the financial situation is going to be following this sickness. And I don't think, I think this goes on easily for another year or so. It's going to be, horrible. Frankly speaking, I don't even know what the world's going to look like on the other side of all this. It could look very, very different. Of course, all of you are anticipating Willy Woo's big $300,000 Bitcoin target into the end of the year, and I think that's sort of one of the side effects of no more U.S. dollar hegemony in this world, and, who's actually driving the bus going forward. And frankly speaking, I can't conjecture on who that's going to be. So through crisis of last year, sky's falling. All right, fine, we'll give you some free money. Free money was given. Okay, got to clean up your deficits and make sure they don't get out of control. Oh, your deficits are getting worse. Well, we're going to destroy your purchasing power of your currency now. So that's basically what's happening. Real estate prices, probably a really good proxy of the purchasing power of money, are going up, astronomically day after day after day after day. And I think I've shown you stock market charts from the last time they did one of these big Fakazi resets, basically day after day after day for like 5-10 years. Damn market just keeps churning its way higher because nobody really knows what fundamental value is. So there's your backdrop. And, I've often joked that by the end of all of this, guys like me that do like classic financial planning and, appropriate retirement savings and asset allocation models and fixed income versus equity investing, I think all of this you guys are going to just be like, what's the latest social media hot thing? And that's what you buy, easy money. And don't bother with the whole sort of financial planning. It's a waste of time. And then, boom, they drop the hammer. It happens every bloody time. It's the same goddamn thing. And I see it happening now. And now they're even the talking heads in the marketplace are like, oh well, AMC, here it goes. The Reddit crowd, they're running this thing up. Is there any value to this? Psh, of course not. But so fucking what? How about GameStop? Any value to this? Nope. So fucking what? So, I don't know what the hell this is going to look like. I will say that, as W's come in, this is where technical analysis really pays off. As the W's come in, ride the inertia, don't take too big of bets. And you might have something like a GameStop $5 stock turn into a $100, $200 stock, and you're made in the shade. I think that the silliness could go on for another 6 months or so. I don't see any end to that. The only question here is if we're beyond the sickness and the sickness is over and that's all done, then I think we'll start to see the silliness unwind. But I don't think that happens for another year or so. The question ultimately here is, if the sickness does come back this fall and everybody sort of assume that everything's fine, flu season, that kind of stuff, do we have to go completely back down in lockdown, shutdown, which means that the past 2 or 3 years of all this crazy fugazi money printing was completely meaningless? And they got to print a whole shitload more. Maybe twice as much as they did before just to keep the fugazi going. And I think that is the case. And I think that is what generates your $300,000 Bitcoin. Woohoo! In the short term, nothing really has changed with the US dollar index. And frankly speaking, this is just a comment of one fiat versus another. Going forward, after everything stabilizes, I do think the growth prospects for the United States of America are far better than anywhere else in the world. And so as a result, I actually do like the US dollar as a relative outperformer going forward. Call me crazy, but that's what I think. Stocks, just sort of meandering, but just the path of least resistance is up. Crude oil, same thing, pushing to new highs. Path of least resistance up. Lately, Fed governors come out and said, we don't have a problem with these high prices. They don't see any inflation. There's inflation everywhere, but so what? These government bureaucrats, in a weird sort of way, I think they used to call them technocrats, where they're actually really serving the banking industry's best interest, not really the public's best interest. So from the banking industry's best interest, they've got all the bad bonds off the balance sheet. Now they have to reflate the economy so that all those bad bonds on a relative size basis are actually pretty small, which means that they have to hyperinflate prices, print a whole bunch of new money, have the public come in and borrow all that new money, all that printed new money, to buy these inflated assets, and the whole game just resets itself. That's what I think is going on right now. Not really a big fan of bonds, and especially since we're thinking that another huge stimulus package just probably does have to keep hitting the market over and over and over, and this just keeps going and going and going. Obviously, the risk off bets, they should do a little bit better through this seasonal weakness. Sell stocks in May and walk away. And as we're sort of moving through this seasonal window of weakness in equity and risk, it doesn't surprise me these guys are outperforming. Bonds are just going sideways, which isn't a good sign for the bond market, because when we get out of this seasonally friendly window, what do bonds do when we go into a bond seasonally weak period? These things could just collapse. Fed officials are starting to talk about tapering their bond purchases, and really the irony of it all is that for a very, very long time there were net inflows of capital from around the world into the U.S. bond market, which kept bond prices moving higher, interest rates moving lower. That is not the case now. In fact, the tick data, the flow of capital, is actually negative for the United States. So what that means is, who's actually buying these bonds? The central bank. That's the only people. Nobody else is buying these bonds. which means if they actually start curtailing their bond purchasing power per program, we could actually see the bond price collapse. And that's the end game of all this, I think. It's what brings an end to this utter stupidity of the Vancouver real estate market, because it's all predicated on this idea that long-term interest rates are low and are going to stay low forever. And I don't think that's the case. So we'll see how this goes. If we just keep trending higher, then these Vancouver real estate developers are toast in my eyes. But that's exactly what should happen. They were toast in the 1980s, and they literally had to go through 20 years of heartbreak through that respective greed cycle. And I think exactly the same thing is going to happen. So don't go and buy Vancouver real estate right now. It's just stupidity. And don't go, if you want to go and take out a mortgage like a 20-year paper, lock in these low rates for the entire duration of your mortgage. That's fine. But for God's sakes, do not go out and buy like a 5-year variable rate mortgage. Because number one, variable rates, if interest rates crank up, you're trapped. Number two, if it's 5 years, the bank may just not even refinance you after that 5-year period and say, screw it. Yeah, we don't think you meet credit quality. We're not going to refinance you. Oh, you don't have the principal? We take the house. Sorry. Have a nice day. So, for God's sakes, be very, very careful here, people. Sort of continuing that theme of, sell in May and walk away. May, June usually are typically weak periods in the market. It's interesting that even through these weak periods, you can't even get any weakness out of these risk assets. That in itself is insanely dangerous. Seeing the corn come off the way that it has, if anything, it's good for the corn that it does this, because it relieves all these overbought conditions. I might argue that the overbought condition in the stock market and things like crude oil markets is still very prevalent. So same thing with cryptocurrencies. The fact that they, the altcoins, the shitcoins, whatever you want to call them, the fact that they have brought them down actually does relieve a lot of this overboughtness. But as we sort of told you recently, 1W in RSI is not a buy signal. It's just a simple, if you are a bear, you got to cool your jets. This might go and M out here, and then we're right back in the bear, and back down we go. But for the time being, she's consolidating. And, if risk is technically still just going to be perfectly fine through this, I personally think there's another shoe to drop here in June. And we should see one more bump up in the bonds, one more bump up in gold, and the fear assets like yen, and one more push lower in these risk assets before this is done. But so what? That's just Brian's opinion. Who cares? Sort of further anecdote that we're not quite ready to go back into bull, but very constructive. 50% retracement in the bull-bear battle between small caps and large caps. When this is trending up, it means that people are coming into the market and speculating. When it's trending down, it means people are preferring the more conservative assets and doing less speculating. Healthy correction, kind of like the altcoins in crypto. Good to see this clean up. A lot of small cap stocks have really cleaned up and actually look pretty good in here. A lot of W's coming in. So, yes, we have a W here, but the rule is we have to wait for a W on the other side of the trend line. So, wow, this is encouraging. Looks awesome. Give me a W now, please. And then we can start getting to work. We got a big bull market. Let's go and make a pile of money, capital gains. Right now, because we're still in that sort of wait and see mode, that's exactly what I'm doing. Whether it be crypto, whether it be stock market, I'm in very much just sort of wait and see mode. Doing a little bit of nanny nibbling on our shitcoin 5000 kind of names. I am starting to get some fills, like this IOC was one of them. Pretty typical trade that we used to do on the site last cycle. Same thing this cycle. We like to call it the shark setup, where you have your original bottom, market dips, have your open order stink bids working down at the bottom end of ranges against original structure, and you get your fills down here. So I got filled here at It was about 300 sats somewhere in there the other day. Yeah, pretty typical trade. And there's a lot of these that are happening right now. So whether it be shitcoin 5000, which is a little bit more aggressive than probably most of your temperaments. Shitcoins actually, you can see they're kind of catching a bid, the ones that I've been interested lately. But, like you can see, a bit of red. If anything, this is good if you want to be a buyer, is you want to see these things come back down into buying ranges. So, good example. And actually, it was kind of funny. In the broadcast, I was going on about how if we have a bearish divergence in momentum, you want to stay away from things. And this one, you can see it came back down. And we were looking at this stock to begin with. And let's see, where's the best place to show this? Probably over here. We were looking at the stock, and I started off by saying, oh boy, is that bad? What do you tell me? And I'm like, oh boy, that looks horrible. Well, wait a minute. That's a stock. That's not the cryptocurrency. So I was like, okay, well, if we got a bearish divergence in the cryptocurrency, you better cool your jets. So we looked at it and we went, okay, well, that's just a regular failure. No divergence. Phew. So actually, I don't mind stepping in and nibbling away on these kind of things, but we don't have any buy signals here. There are no W's here anywhere in sight. So we just got to cool our jets. Just be patient. You just got to let this stuff clean itself up. Usually the usually the seasonal trade, we're coming in into the July 4th U.S. holiday long weekend as our sort of next official buy point. And until then, hell, this might even turn into a bear AB. Boom, boom. Let's see where this takes us. AB and CD. We might, on this shitcoin index, actually, and this would actually make perfect sense, is we're just going to do nothing more than just come down right back into the original bottom. Right down here. In fact, look at that. Perfect. Right down into the bottom. So, I don't want this to happen. Nobody wants this kind of stuff to happen. But if this is a bear ABCD and we still have to clean this space up, I could very easily see something like this happen. And, of course, like I said there a moment ago, that will start giving me all my shitcoin 5000 fills. Got a ton of bids working. No fills yet. So. Actually, a couple. Right? That IOC, I got filled on that one. So. Okay, I think I'll leave the rant at that. Not a lot new. Cool your jets. Go slowly. Bears, you've been told to be put on pause. So no outright shorts one way or the other. It's Memorial Day weekend. Maybe just go out and have some fun with the family in the nice weather. And don't stress too much about the market right now. It looks to me like it's in still a bit of a holding pattern right now. Okay, I'm going to leave the rant at that. Have yourselves a great day. Thank you so much for everybody who helps me pull these videos and site content off. PMA for the win. Don't take no wooden nickels. We'll see everybody Sunday for broiler chickens. All the best and bye for now.